You ever wonder why the easy, enthusiastic meeting is the one least likely to close? Now, this is very counterintuitive, and as a young seller, I used to step into this bear trap all the time. So the idea is you're meeting with a buyer, and everything's going great, right? You're connecting, you like the vibe, it's very positive, you're having positive conversation. It just seems like everything is lining up for a quick sale. And when I was a younger seller, I think you try to be optimistic. You kind of have to be, because there's so much rejection in sales. So when you get something that just seems like it's just flowing and you got it, that it's so tempting to get wrapped up in it and just assume that it is going swimmingly and you're going to get it. And the reality is that once I started selling more, this became a giant red flag. All right. Because the reality is, when something is going so well, probably some of the critical dimensions of selling are not happening. This is probably too surface level. It's a little too nice. And more than likely, it's not going to lead to a sale for a couple reasons. So one is that this kind of nice, enthusiastic meeting generally is not getting into a lot of challenging discussion. It's probably not talking about potential risk. It's probably not creating any kind of urgency whatsoever, because it's just kind of a nice chat. And while that's good for relationship building, in the end, what you're trying to do is change human behavior. And so while this is great to make friends, when you're trying to persuade someone, this is not great. All right. Now, that said, I'm not saying be a jerk and not try to connect with people on a human level, but this is not the end game, right? And so if you find that sales calls are just kind of, nice and friendly, but in the end, they're not driving revenue like they should, part of what you want to think about is, how do I add some friction to the conversation? And for a lot of people, that is very uncomfortable. The idea that you're going to add friction, that you're going to add a bit of tension to a conversation, some people just don't want to do that. And if you're one of them, this might not be the profession for you, because the reality is you have to have some friction. You have to have some of these challenging discussions, because that's what buyers need, right? They can go to your website, they can read beautiful copy, they can, check out a white paper, etc. But all those things are not going to mentally challenge them and challenge their viewpoints and their perspective. That's the value you bring. All right. And sometimes when you're shifting someone's perspective, when you're bringing these kind of different dimensions, it can be uncomfortable because you're challenging them mentally. But that's a good thing. All right. So I just want to encourage you that the goal of a good conversation is not, was it friendly? Was it enthusiastic? Did it have a good flow? It's really, did I challenge this buyer in a respectful way, but did I challenge them to be able to shift their viewpoint or expand their viewpoint, or to get them to see a level deeper or a layer deeper, right? So anything that you can do that kind of shapes the perception of that buyer, they appreciate it. So it might not be in that moment, but when they step away from that conversation and they're really reflecting on it, to be like, wow, that was a really good conversation, because I didn't think about that, or I wasn't kind of focused on that, or I wasn't prioritizing that. So when you start kind of mentally shaping that vision that they have in their heads, that's really where you get more credit and credibility with the buyer, and your probability of winning the deal is going to go up, because they remember the people that tried to challenge them and tried to make them better, rather than just have a good old friendly sales chat.